Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good afternoon. Welcome to BCIT's The Crow. I'm Graciela Cruz Flores, and these are your headlines at 3. As the members of the BC General Employees Union continue their job action, they will protest for workers' fair wages. Jonah Jung explains more about why the union members decided to go on strike.
As the provincial government's public servants agency is yet to return with a fair deal, the BC General Employees Union members will spread their picket lines across the province today in Surrey, Victoria, and Nanaimo. Starting from January 22nd, the union started to negotiate with the agency for the public services workers' increased wages, saying that the workers should not face an affordability crisis. The union suggested in June a 2-year deal with a 4% wage increase in the first year and 4.5% in the second year for the workers. With the strike ongoing, the BC Premier David Eby says he will find a balance between benefiting the British Columbians and the public services workers. Jonah Jung, BCIT News.
The entirety of eastern BC, with the northern and central interior regions, continue to be under an air quality warning due to wildfire smoke. Environment Canada says the smoke in the eastern half of BC, from the Peace region to the North Kootenays in the south, could last up to 48 hours. BC Wildfire Services says there are up to 148 active wildfires across the province, a number in the Cariboo region triggering evacuation orders and alerts in the central interior. The service says 14 new fires were started in the last 24 hours and 10 were declared out. Gas prices have soared in the past week in Metro Vancouver. This spike is a trickle-down effect from the closure of a South Californian refinery. Isabella Vertone has the story.
Drivers in Metro Vancouver have been facing dramatic increases in gas prices this past week, and it may just be the beginning. Patrick DeHaan is the analyst for GasBuddy.com and says that he predicts that the winter months' fuel will bring down these high prices in the very near future.
But I would say that by most scenarios, I think the safest estimates are that relief should really start to arrive once we make the transition back to easier to produce winter gasoline, which happens in about a week.
As the summer months come to an end and the winter quickly approaches, Vancouver may have a break from these high gas prices and receive some alleviation. Isabella Vertone, BCIT News.
In the last week of August saw a sharp spike in speed and impairment violations on the Sea to Sky Highway. BC Highway Patrol says more than 60 vehicles were impounded during that time on the highway, 31 coming during Labor Day weekend alone. Among the worst cases was a pickup truck caught going 132 kilometers an hour in an 80 zone near Porter Cove on August 27th. The driver received a 3-day suspension. Another case saw a Harley Davidson traveling at 110 kilometers an hour in a 60 zone at Lions Bay on August 31st. The rider failed a breath test, leading him to lose his license. In the city of Whitehouse, one person is dead after a transit bus and semi-truck crash. RCMP say the collision happened Tuesday on the Alaska Highway near the Crestview subdivision north of downtown Whitehorse. Police say an occupant of the semi-truck was killed in the collision. They say they haven't yet received any reports of injuries from occupants of the transit bus. The highway was closed as part of the investigation and no detour was available. A social media post from the city of Whitehorse says due to the closure, transit service to Crestview will be unavailable until further notice. The federal agriculture minister says it's too early to say whether Canada will ease tariffs on electrical vehicles from China. The tariffs were imposed a year ago, following a similar move by the U.S. Agriculture Minister Heath MacDonald says any change would have to take other sectors into consideration.
So every decision that we make as a federal government, we want to ensure that we're not jeopardizing a situation that could be even broader.
Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith have called on Ottawa to lift the tariffs on Chinese EVs. McDonald's comments come at the end of a meeting of federal and provincial agriculture ministers who heard from canola groups that producers are struggling. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporations says housing starts in Metro Vancouver are expected to be weaker this year before improving in 2026. The CMHC says in its fall 2025 housing supply report that the lower housing starts in Metro Vancouver in the first half of this year is mainly due to a decline in apartments. The report says condo starts fell by 13.4% in the first half of 2025. The report says rental apartments are making up larger proportions of overall starts as developers slow down condo markets to rental construction productions. In international news, Apple today is set to unveil the next line of iPhones. Concerns about potential price increases due to the global trade war has some intrigue surrounding the new product introduction. Tech analysis research president Bob O'Donnell says Samsung and Apple are neck and neck for innovations.
I don't know if it's going to dramatically change the market share. Actually Samsung has a very thin phone already. They announced the S25 Edge. Earlier this year. Of course, they have the foldable. That's the one piece we're still waiting on from Apple. And I think there are some people who will be anxious for that. But, all in all, I think this will keep both of the companies on their toes, keep them pushing forward. And, we'll see kind of innovation start to go back and forth.
U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs campaigns to bring overseas manufacturing back to the U.S. has exposed Apple as they continue to make their devices in China and India. This will press on speculation that the company may raise prices on new models. In sports, the Six Nations Chiefs got their first win of the Mann Cup with a 19-9 win over the New Westminster Salmon Bellies. Chiefs forward Dane Smith led the Chiefs in scoring with 4 goals and 10 points in the game. Goaltender Doug Jamieson was a solid in net, stopping 38 out of 47 shots on goal. The series is now 2-1 for the Salmon Bellies, with Game 4 scheduled for tonight at 7:30 in New Westminster. With the World Cup less than a year away, FIFA requires all fields by nature for international play to be natural for international play. However, the stadium is played with both the BC Lions and the Vancouver Whitecaps. Both teams have gotten used to the turf field. Former BCSPL soccer player Brandon Nicole says that the change in turf should help limit injuries during the event.
Looking at, for example, slide tackling, right? The turf is a lot more grippy sometimes, especially when you can catch on your cleats. It's really bad in the joints too, where the grass and dirt's a lot more cushioning and shock absorbent. So a lot more injuries do occur, especially in the ankles and knees. So a lot of young players really have to be careful when they're first starting out their careers.
BC Place will have to start soon the taxing swap of artificial turf from natural grass to natural grass. Both the BC Lions and the Whitecaps may start a new season with fresh-cut grass. Canada coach Jesse March says the September international window has been a huge success for Canadian men's soccer team. They were victorious in a 1-0 win over Wales following a 3-0 win over Romania.
I told the players after the match that for me, this 10 days and how we've used it and maximized the themes that we wanted to put to practice was probably the best 10 days we've had together.
Canada will get back together in the October window for games against Australia and Colombia.
Space to get it up and down here over the wall. 25 plus yards out.
Former Marseille man on loan. It reaches! Oh, wow! You said it, Stevie. Perfect distance. Perfect perfect finish. Derek Cornelius.
The 1-0 match with only Canada's center back Derek Cornelius' free kick goal late in the first half is an important win for Canada. This marks Canada's third straight win in matches against European countries. The New Jersey Devils center Jack Hughes has expressed confidence that younger brother Luke Hughes is to remain as a teammate. Luke is looking to sign a 5-year contract that would take him directly to unrestricted free agency. Such term would mean Jack and Luke hitting the open market together in the summer of 2030. Vancouver Canucks captain Quinn Hughes has also expressed his feeling about one day suiting up under the same NHL team with his brothers. Jack says as of right now, Quinn is focused on getting the Canucks back to the playoffs. Trade rumors are swarming Pittsburgh Penguins and Team Canada's captain Sidney Crosby. Crosby says he understands why trade rumors swirl around him. With Pittsburgh Penguins having missed the playoffs the last 3 seasons, the team seems to be going into the 2025-2026 season with a little hope. The Stanley Cup champion is rumored to be favored to go to Colorado and Montreal. Speaking to reporters in Las Vegas, Crosby struck a balanced tone about the buzz, understanding that his current position is part of a rebuilding organization and the desire for other teams wanting him. Finally, in weather, today continues to be sunny with a high of 21, except for 24 inland. Expect tonight to be clear with an increasing fog patches developing late in the evening. Tonight will be a low of 14 with some cloudiness. This has been your news at 3. I'm Graciela Cruz Flores at BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
When I tell people that I study journalism, they immediately say, oh, you want to be a reporter. But I think, in my case personally, I really want to go into magazines, PR, social media, and I think here at school we learn a lot of skills that allow you to go into that world because you learn how to write for social media, social content, for websites,